All right. Okay, we are back
Awesome.
for another episode of Fast Forward here.
Yes, we are.
Um, yeah, it's amazing. It's halfway through July, believe it or not. It's time. This summer is really flying by.
It is. It
Um,
is.
Today we have an amazing guest, but for Natasha, introduces who we have on today. The topic that we're really going to be focusing on today is pretty interesting. It's how to actually raise capital in a pandemic from a founder who most recently raised $500,000 in seed funding. So whether you're a business owner, whether you're an artist, whether you're an entrepreneur looking to scale their enterprise, venture capital is very, very important. This is not just coming from, you know, big VC companies. This could be, private rounds. This could be family funding rounds. This could be, bank loans. I mean, really, like, capital is the lifeblood that keeps this country going and allows new businesses to spurt up and scale. So, with that said, I'm happy to turn it over to Natasha. Let them know who we have on today.
Absolutely. So today we have Nick Cianfaglione, and I hope I said that correctly. And he is the CEO of Artist Republik, which is such an awesome company. We're super stoked to have him and his insights for today. Like you said, venture capital is such an important aspect of growth for businesses, especially in the industry that we're in. And talking to someone who really understands the need for it in the music industry and from both sides, the brand side and also from an artist side, is going to be really, really cool. We've got some great questions lined up, so why don't we go ahead and bring him in here, let him give us the spiel on what's going on with Artist Republik. Hey, Nick.
Hey,
What's
how are
up,
you?
Nate?
What's up?
Thanks for
Not too
uh,
much.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
so
you for
give us
having
the
me on.
rundown.
Cool.
We'd love to hear more from you, particularly give us the whole rundown on what you guys do, what you're about.
Yeah, no, completely. So Artist Republic is a decentralized music system for music artists. So really what it does is it entirely changes the, landscape of the independent music industry by allowing, a music artist to not have to operate with a middleman. And so really what that enables a music artist to do is get all the resources that they need without, contracts, without exuberant fees and stuff like that.
No,
Makes sense.
yeah. I mean, I think, and obviously, we've been working together. Shout out to Marilyn and Present PR for bringing the whole thing together. But I think your company does so much more than just really take out the middleman. I really think it just automates the artist experience across the board, and it really challenges the notion of, number one, do you need a manager? Number two, do you really need all this staff and personnel that either take percentages or cuts? Like, you guys have really figured out a full out automated processy way to help an artist scale pretty much from A to Z and allowing them to choose more effectively whether they want to sign with the record label or remain independent. And I thought that about your company has always been incredible, particularly around your mission statement, for your dedication.
Oh,
I'm, I guess we can.
I think he's frozen, but we're not frozen. Okay, let's give him a second. And you're muted. There we go. That's okay. While he's figuring that out, we'll
Yeah.
start with the first question.
Yeah, no, completely.
Amazing. And he might have been leading up to this, so who knows? We might already be where we're supposed to be going. But okay, so I'm gonna read it out because there's some stats in here. I don't want to mess it up. Oh, Clay, do we have you back?
Oh, was I offline the whole time? Oh, cool.
You started great, but then we lost you. And we literally just talked
Oh
about
well, Natasha, please take. Oh, did you guys already get through the first question?
We
Did we
did
miss
not,
that?
and you're welcome to. I feel like you should say it
Oh,
again, just because you have so much gusto when you speak. I'd love to hear it from you first.
oh, appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, Nick, I'm curious to get your thoughts on obviously the venture capital space, right? So PwC and CB Insights
Mhm.
found literally just came out with a report, literally I think this week, that there was 1,374 deals in the second quarter of 2020. It's about up 3% since the first quarter, but down
Yeah.
18% year over year. So as somebody, how do you see Q3 and Q4 really playing out for venture capital, particularly let's say like in the entertainment vertical,
Yeah.
given
So
where you guys have been?
I think Q3 and Q4 for venture capital itself is going to be tough. I think Q3 and Q4 for angel investment is going to be where it's at. I mean, I think the biggest thing that we saw when we were going through our funding round is, we went the angel route, and really built a strong team around it. But I think that's what enabled us to be able to fundraise in a pandemic. Is during this time the institutions may be tied up, but the individuals are not. And so I think for the industry itself coming into Q3 and Q4, I think you are going to see a lot of investments in startups, especially because right now in an economic downturn is actually one of the best times to have a startup. So going off of that mindset, you're going to see a lot of angels, I think, but I think the VCs are still going to be slow to kind of catch up. I was actually talking to a couple, funds the other day, and it's really up in the air for them. They're building the funds, they're getting them together. They're like, maybe we'll do a round, maybe we'll do this. But a lot of them are busy right now on, keeping alive the companies that they've already funded. Whereas the angels, they're out there and they're looking for more stable investments. And no, a startup is never stable, but in an economic downturn, the cost of starting a startup is cheap. And so for an angel, it's almost the perfect time for them to invest. And so I think you're going to see a lot more of that, especially in the entertainment industry, as entertainment almost becomes cheaper. When entertainment comes back, it's not going to be expensive.
Yeah, that makes
Pretty
sense. I mean,
interesting take on
it
it.
seems natural. I honestly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
sorry, can you explain just a little bit more, because I want you to hit on that point a little more on like how it's actually going to be cheaper for a startup to like scale, because you guys had to go through that process. So if you guys were going through this exact same process now versus let's say 2 years ago when the unemployment rate was at 3.5% and the economy was really moving,
Yeah.
do you guys think that it would have actually cost you more to do what you're doing at this exact point?
Oh, yes, completely. I mean, I think a big thing, like for us right now too, we've been hiring a lot of younger talent. And younger talent it's much easier to get great young talent right now because internships are canceled, hiring is frozen. And so you have this amazing young talent that isn't getting picked up by the largest companies that, they're just going to be a number there. And now you have this amazing talent pool that's not getting picked up, and you're able to get them at very good rates and not, undercutting anybody, just affordable rates that a startup can actually do because you don't have to outbid the huge companies. Normally startups have to compete with huge companies and they don't have the budget to do that. Where right now you don't have that competition. And so you're able to get really good talent without having to pay that premium to compete with other, people hiring in the field.
Okay. Yeah. That does make sense. I mean, we're kind of in this really great place where there's so many great people out there right now, and literally none of them have anything to do in the meantime. Yeah. so shitty. But I mean, there's the benefits to it. There's always going to be the benefits to it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about your company for a minute. The there's no fee to join, right?
Mhm.
And as members, they can pick and choose the company's bespoke show tool service menu, right?
Yeah.
So, and each service operates on a pay-per-use basis, including low-cost ticketing sales, show booking and management, venues and festivals, merchandising, contract negotiations, IP protections, fan base, development, musicians and producers, as well as graphic websites and videography. I mean, literally everything you could imagine. You guys are like, you're killing it when it comes to a range of things that can be supported in this space, all with a one-time $5 fee, right? So how does that work? Yeah.
So kind of. So the $5 fee, I think that got mixed up, and I think one of the outlets, the $5 fee covers like distribution, for example. So that's where it comes in the pay per use. So each tool within their respective service sectors has certain fees. Some of them may be free. We're actually rolling out one of our largest free tools, hopefully in the next week or two. And that's going to be something that you're going to see a lot more of. Now that we have a good set of, paid tools to kind of give us that baseline, we're going to be coming out with more free tools. And that's a big thing for us. So when an artist joins our network, you're going to have what we call service pillars. So you have your distribution sector, you have your marketing sector, you have your show sector, and you have your social. And so the social is where a lot of the free stuff is, hidden. The newsfeed, the messaging, stuff of that sort, where you're actually able to connect with other artists, share your music, discover new music, and you're almost able to grow within the community, where artists can support other artists, they can network, they can grow, and that's a whole community that's completely free. But then you get in something like the distribution system, and in one service sector you have dozens of tools, and because really the way we look at building systems is the whole life cycle, and so artists can pick and choose what they want to do. So if you come to us and you can be an Artist Republic member and you can distribute through someone else, but you're also we don't stop you from using us. So you just don't pay the $5 to distribute your song. You can still access the marketing resources and the social resources. And so really the network itself is a massive resource, and artists get out of it what they put into it. And so that's kind of how the whole platform is structured.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That does make sense. And there's no contracts, no fees that allow people to hang on to like the 100% of their revenue, right?
Yeah. In terms of distribution, yes. Users will, retain 100% of their streaming royalties. We're pretty standard on that side. It starts at $5 to distribute a single. It's the cheapest in the industry, mainly just because, we closed some really good deals early on. And really that's where it comes down to the baseline of, we want to empower a network that stands for the music artists, not, the bottom line of some massive company. Would
you say that's why, because you built this one-stop shop for a reason. So would you say that's why you feel like the industry needed it and that's why you guys created it? Or what was the inception point of what you're doing with all of this? And how do you feel like it's completely disrupting COVID-19 and how people are handling things on a digital front?
It's a big question.
I know, multi-layered.
Yeah, start with the first layer. So where I really realized it, so I was in the music industry for about 7 years, worked in concerts, and then went into music marketing. And, through all those areas, working with the artists, I realized the same thing is artists get locked into lengthy contracts. They're overpaying for resources, or they don't want to pay and they don't want to do the contracts, and they never get the resources they need. And so I really realized that when I was running the marketing company, when I had a lot of these guys coming to me and they're like, Nick, you're so good at doing the marketing. Can you manage my booking? And I'm like, I'm one person. I can manage your marketing, but I can't also manage your booking. And so that was when I sat back and I talked to one of my mentors, and me and him were talking, and it was like, I don't know how to grow and help artists without adding another human into the equation. But the problem is when you add a human into the equation, humans are expensive. And to make the resources cheap enough to enable a music artist to be able to get the things they need while also staying independent, because most of the time you're dealing with artists that maybe are making $2,000, $3,000 a year off their career, 90% of that off of streaming. And so how do you build a system that actually enables an artist to work with you and actually come out at the end of it on top, have money in their pocket so they actually grow their career? And with a human, it's physically impossible. The work a human would have to do, you would have to charge so much it wouldn't work. And so that was when I kind of sat back and I was like, okay, there's got to be a better way to run it. And so when we figured out this way to build it as a, integrated, network-based marketplace, that's when it started coming true, where you can say, okay, a lot of the things a manager or a booking agent or a marketer does, for the most part, it can be automated. But you have to have the knowledge of how the systems work inside and out to then automate them. And not to say that we'll ever be fully automated, but if we have 100,000 people on the network, but we have 20 people, behind the scenes working with the artists and helping them grow through the network, you're going to have a much better ability to charge those services at a much lower rate than having one person work with one artist. And that's going to enable a lot more artists to get the resources they need to then grow their career. Because there are a lot of talented artists out there. They just don't have the revenue or the resources or the connections to get that first, jump.
That's true. Yeah, you're really building an infrastructure here that I feel like a lot of artists don't even know is really available in a lot of ways because of that. Because they're looking all over the internet, and the internet is filled with tons of bullshit for musicians that they don't need, or a lot of different options. But when you have everything kind of in one place and you're able to automate it from the back end, it does make it a lot more accessible to kind of bring the same service to everyone at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so piggybacking off of that kind of jumps well into our next topic with you. Is you guys currently have, and this is what I found already, is 15,000 users. I think just for your beta enrollment, it could be more, but I'm curious to understand, one, how did you break the product into the marketplace to scale and get all of these users really, really quickly? And two, how are you competing with other companies that, because for artists, it really is confusing. Having repped artists for a while and still consulting on their behalf, it really is confusing to find the right companies that actually have the right products that aren't just a ton of these, kind of shady, kind of weird companies. You don't really know what you're going to get when you pay for them. And there's a lot of them out there, whether it's on the streaming side. I've seen companies that if you pay $1,000, you can get 1 million streams, right? It's just so weird and just and you'd be surprised. A lot of people kind of get gimmicked out of thousands and thousands of dollars all the time. So I'm really curious to, like I said, get your process and how you were able to build that massive beta enrollment, and also how you guys thinking about marketing your business and really ensuring that your company kind of really sets the tone and weeds out the rest of the bullcrap that's out there.
Yeah, so the marketing side was interesting. So when we launched the alpha test in January, we had 11,000 people signed up for the beta, for the alpha test. So the way we got so many users is because we started advertising the platform in August of 2019. And that was it was a closed website. You could just sign up your email and gave them a little blurb about what we were doing. That was because we were supposed to launch October of 2019. Give or take, bunch of problems getting the stability up, me kind of making the shots of we're not ready to deploy. We need to build this better. So we actually went through about 3 rebuilds of the entire platform in a matter of a couple months. Then finally leading up to the alpha test. So we were it's hand in hand. We had so many people because we were building up the hype for so long. We started the social media pages, I think, in early 2019. So this has been a plan for so long, and we just had so many development delays in our early life cycle that really it just had a lot of time to build a lot of hype around it. People being like, when is this coming out? And so that was really to our benefit. After the initial alpha launch, we then went into this just extreme cycle of growth. How do we get features out? How do we get to the beta? How do we get to stability? And really, that beta started May 3rd. So really, we're really young. And that May 3rd beta started this kind of rapid growth cycle of we roll out new features every 2 weeks. We were growing at about 600 new users every single week. And really, it's a diverse range of marketing strategies and also a really strong team of marketers behind it. I've been working with Facebook marketing for 6-7 years. And so up until this point, everything was led by me. Starting at the beginning of last month was when we really started getting a whole marketing team around it. So we have a full team diversifying us across the board with marketing between excellent content creation and Google ads and Facebook ads experts and Twitter experts, and that's really where we're hitting in kind of this global reach of users. And that's another thing to consider. We are not a US based company when it comes to our user base. The majority, more than half of our users are in the US, but we are not just built for US users. We do market to all users. We're actually in planning. The website will be starting to develop into different languages across the world. And that's a goal. Independent artists are not just in the United States. Actually, the majority of independent artists are overseas. So that's a big thing for us. And as for the services on the other side, to answer the second part of the question is, that's a really big thing for us. And we get it a lot where people will message us and be like, how can I pay $100 and get 100 followers? And it's like, well, you can't because that's not the service we're trying to build. And that's a big thing with us is we are an aggregator of resources. And so just like Apple with the App Store, they vet every single one of the apps that comes in through their App Store to make sure they're clean. That's kind of the same thing that we do with the platform. So not every feature is built by us, or not every vendor that's on the platform just comes on. We have vetting processes for the vendors. We have extremely strict review processes and fraudulent catchers in the system. So the idea is that we are providing services that are legit and actually provide value to the users, which can be tough at the same time, because if you're not at that point where you're ready for that value, your marketing may fall. But at the end of the day, when you are ready, when that user is ready, they're going to have the marketing resources there. So we try to build a complete suite of tools that are for the person that literally just started making music yesterday, and to the person that's been making music for 10 years and is ready to take their career to that, continued growth. And that's kind of the big, difference between us and a lot of other companies. And I think the other big thing is, like I said, we look at the whole life cycle. Not everything is built by us. We don't look at ourselves as competing with the majority of the music the music industry. It's more of bringing the music industry together. If there's an existing marketing tool out there that is amazing, we're not going to go and rebuild it. You're not going to reinvent the wheel. But let's just take a really good wheel and let's put it on our car. But if there's not a really good wheel out there, then yeah, we're going to build it. We're going to build it better. So that's where the platform kind of fits into the industry.
Love that.
That's super fascinating.
Yeah. So switching us over to a little bit more on the venture capital side again, your Providence-based decentralized networking platform for independent music artists has raised $540,000 in seed round. Can you walk us and the viewers through the investment process, for someone who's never really gone through this or is potentially trying to go through this right now?
Yeah. So our investment process was pretty unorthodox. We closed our seed round in about 3 weeks, which was an insane sprint to funding. Really, we had a really strong group of, strategic partners, and one individual in particular that really helped guide through all of this. I think the biggest thing that I can say to people, and this is something that I've heard across the industry with anybody that is chasing funding, find your lead investor. There is somebody out there that will take you under their wing and will take care of you and be as interested in what you are doing as you are, but they will have the money and the connections to help you where you can't do it. And I think that was a great thing for us is, we have a very strong strategic partner and lead investor. And that enables us to not have to take our focus off, the company or take our foot off the gas during investment rounds, because investment rounds are brutal. And going through that, to, kind of dive in the life cycle, I mean, you really need to have all your ducks in a row. If you don't have a 12-month budget and a 36-month budget and a 5-year budget, really the 12 and 36, especially now in COVID world, no one really cares about 5-year budgets. But if you don't have those numbers in place, that's a mandatory thing to have in place. We probably went through, I would say, 100 plus different iterations of budgets. We spent 3 weeks before starting the round just on iterating and locking down a solid budget estimate for our 12-year, 36-month, and 5 years. Now, going off of that, then it dives into the pitch deck. You have a lot to talk about in a startup. So what are you going to put on your pitch deck? Because really, you should have 10 slides max. And because after 10 slides, you're going to lose them. You shouldn't have, a paragraph on the slide. There should be limited text, but really good catchphrases and grabs, because people are going to look at the slide deck while listening to you. So what do you want them looking at while they're listening to you? If you're on your revenue slide talking about your 5-year projections, and if your 5-year projections are 20 million, then bold 20 million. Because if they're looking at that while listening to you, they're going to look at the bold. And those are the little things that you want to look through on your deck. Because really, if you have a good deck that speaks for itself and you have really good, solid numbers that make sense, that's going to really make it a lot easier. And then I would say the last big thing is make sure that the investors you bring on, you have synergy with. You have these people for a while, most likely, if all goes well. And so you need to make sure that you have a really good relationship and synergy with these people. And that was a big thing that we went through with everyone. I mean, I love every single one of the investors we brought on. We have a really good relationship with all of them. And that's what you need, especially as a young founder. Because as a young founder, you are not the smartest in the room. You never will be the smartest in the room. And you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And you need to have a good synergy where you have a good working relationship with them. So they're more than just money. And they're someone that's actually going to, advise you and mentor you and help you grow.
I have a couple of follow-ups on that. This is all super fascinating, and I love hearing kind of, your breakdown on everything, especially the important stuff with pitch deck, because it's so necessary to know how you're pitching and what you're visually sharing to anyone. I mean, I'll preach about that every day, all day long. But two things that I think are valuable to get a little bit more detail on, which is one, when people are looking for an investor, they don't really know where to look. And that is a big stopping point for a lot of people that are trying to start something, especially in the entertainment industry, all those spaces. It's hard to know where to look to find wealthy people that are also, avidly interested in something new. So where would you say are best places to look? Where did you guys look? If you're willing, if you don't have to share that if you don't want to, but suggestions on where to look, where to try and find people. And then and that partner, that strategic partner, how did you, one, find someone like that? Where did you look? And two, how did you know that was really the right, how did you know you really had synergy? What was kind of the okay, we may disagree. We're allowed to disagree on this, but we're really having to agree on this,
Yeah. So to break down the first question, where to find investors. Investors are everywhere. The size of the investor is what's the difference. And that's when really people really need to break down what is your investment strategy. We tossed around a lot of investment strategies before we brought on the strategic partner. And there were so many things on the table. Your first round that everyone jokes about called, they always call it the family, friends, and fools round. But that round should never be discredited. You can very easily use a crowdfunding website and raise $80,000 to $100,000 from family and friends. And that's something that can be done very easily. You can do it without converting your company. You can do it through a SAFE, which I totally forget the acronym. But it's a very entrepreneur-friendly investment agreement that enables you to not dilute your company early on and, protects the investors, but enables you to get that initial money. And that's a very safe way. I wouldn't, tell anybody to not crowdfund. But on the other side of the angel side, there's money everywhere. College alumni networks, networking events. Really, I would say the biggest thing is PR. And that's guiding into kind of that next statement. We early on made it a big point to connect with a lot of bloggers and influential people in newsletters and stuff like that. And that is what led us to our success so far. Is we got one blog, one really good blog article published in the Rhode Island Innovation, and that's what led to it. I was actually leaving campus one day from Bryant, and I was heading down to the office in Providence, and I got an email from the president of the university and was like, "Hey, I have a guy that I think you should meet. He's a Bryant alumni, and he's really interested in talking to you." And he said, "Call me," and he gave me his phone number. So we hopped on a call. He said, "Look, here's this guy's number. He's a Bryant alumni. He's on the board of trustees, and he loved your company, and he wants to, help you." And so at that point, a couple weeks after, I drove up to New Hampshire. He was flying in up there. I met him. We had a meeting, and it was just a great relationship. So that's where it really comes into, like, if you're a young founder, use your alumni networks. There are a lot of very wealthy individuals that come from schools that you probably go to, and guess what? They would love to support another person at that school. And even if you're just, out of 5 years, 6 years post-grad, you can still access those networks. And that's a big area. So I think the biggest thing, and kind of the last statement on that, the other big thing I've learned is investors will come to you when you're not looking for them. And I think that was one of the first. We were actually having trouble with investors, and I didn't know what to do in the beginning. And one of my close friends at school, his dad was a part of a VC firm. He said to me, if you want investors, act like you don't need them, and they will come. And it really stuck with me, because it is very true. If you're going and talking to someone who is, a wealthy individual and possibly an angel investor, and you're just looking for money, they're probably not going to invest in you. But if you sell them on yourself and your person and your idea and your vision, they're probably going to ask to invest. You're not going to have to ask them. And I think that for, founders out there, that's the way to do it. Just network with every single person you can. Join every pitch competition, join every accelerator, just because you never know who you're going to meet, when you're going to meet them. And yeah.
Love it. Love it. That's great.
Do you have any recommendations? You're saying, accelerators, all these different things. Assuming that in-person events aren't really going to be coming back, particularly for I used to go to the NYU one all the time. It was like NYU versus Yale, and they did that pitch-off contest or whatever. Super fun to go to and super informative. But what would you say to investors out there that are like, okay, we're gonna have to deal with coronavirus and we're trying to raise money right now. We can't meet anybody in person.
Yeah, first off, a lot of the accelerators are still happening. A lot of them have gone online. I know for us, we got invited into Mass Challenge, and we're actually currently in Mass Challenge. That's all virtual. They're killing it with the virtual events. We've met a bunch of amazing people. And we've got invites to a couple other accelerators that are online. So I think even in the COVID world, there's a lot of, networking stuff that's still happening. It's tougher. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely tougher. But that's where it really comes into that initial statement of all you need is that one person that has more connections that you do to vouch for you. And so you don't need to get in a Zoom networking class of 1,000 people, but if you can get in a Zoom meeting with one person that you met on LinkedIn, that could be all you need.
Yeah, that's really helpful, because I think so many founders that are going through this process right now are really confused, and honestly, like obviously everybody feels uncertain, but it's a little scary by having to think about raising money right now in a time in an economy like this. But it can be done. I mean, it's just so amazing how you guys have really been able to successfully do this. So off of that comment, though, I want to say that the music industry has definitely been one of the most heavily impacted industries since the coronavirus has come across the U.S. I don't think that there's anybody to really doubt it out there, and particularly for the independent artist side, right? You were saying before that artists make about 75% of the revenue from touring. Touring is gone, right?
Yeah.
Gig economy jobs are really tight right now. Restaurants really aren't open full capacity. There's a whole slew of reasons why artists aren't necessarily making the money that they once had to go invest in, platforms across the board. So I guess my question is, do you see the music business and any company that wants to work within this space or entertainment as general having time raising venture capital into the next, let's say, 4 quarters, just because of like how bad this business got hit because of the coronavirus?
That's tough because the independent artist and the independent on the independent side of the industry, you have kind of 2 classifications. You have the independent artist, then you have the independent businesses. The independent artists can survive this. It's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong, but they can survive this. And that's a big thing that we've been pushing. Independent artists still have streaming. They can do live shows on Twitch and stuff like that. They can do giveaway. They can spend time now growing their fan bases through giveaways. And right now you have so much attention on socials. Use that to your advantage. And artists can use that. This is the perfect time for an artist to be planning their tours for the next 6 years. But the business side of it, that's the tough part. The independent businesses are going to be hit hard. And that's why I've said this is going to be probably after this, the cheapest the entertainment industry has ever been, because you're not going to see $100 concerts, because the venues want to get open. The artists want to get out there. So the venues themselves are going to be hit. We've already seen that. They do have, some resources available, government aid and stuff like that. But investing, I think that's going to be interesting. I don't know if it would be much as VCs. I think my personal prediction would be other industry companies. Live Nation buying out more music venues. Management firms buying a music venue. The record labels buying music venues. That would be interesting. And I think that may be something we'll see. But for the most part, I think they will, hang on there. Because the other nice thing is when we start coming out of this pandemic, arena concerts may not be back until next summer. The EDCs and the festivals may not be back until summer 2021. But a local bar down the street with 100 cap capacity playing a local artist on a guitar, there's no reason that if we're starting to come out of this, that 20 people in a local bar isn't going to be open in possibly November or December, if we take the right precautions to get that stuff back. So I think the independent industry is actually going to thrive more after this than the large industry, because they're going to be the ones that are able to come back. And it's also going to give artists that breakaway, because now you have artists that are similar to the big ones, but they're able to get on tour and the big ones aren't. So now you're not going to have those tour conflicts. And you may have that advantage for artists to scoop up a lot of, the fan base market share that they wouldn't have gotten before. So I think this fall and winter, if we take the right steps to kind of knock this out, I think it's going to be a insane breeding ground for independent talent.
And I think too, and I want to get your opinion on this because you kind of brought it up with the Live Nation stuff. Do you see a lot more acquisition happening, particularly let's say for the startup realm, whatever realm of startup it is that kind of works within entertainment, to kind of just cash out now if they can, so they don't feel like they have to ride the wave? I've heard a lot of companies saying, that this may be our time to just get the cash and, kind of hold on for, however long this whole thing kind of lasts. Or do you kind of recommend that, startup founders kind of, buckle their seats, get with their CFOs, start cutting costs and be like, yo, okay, we can really make it through this, and the music business and the entertainment business is going to be better than ever?
I think if you are in the entertainment business as a startup or any company right now, I think you should be doubling down right now. I think right now is prime time for a massive recovery in the entertainment industry. And obviously, we have no idea where it's going to go. But for the most part, I mean, music is never going to die. Live concerts are never going to die. But the reason I say it's time to double down, because this is a change in market. Like the big thing for us, we have our show systems, our ticketing systems, and all these great live event systems, but we're not rolling them out. We're not rolling them out until live shows come back. So what are we doing until then? Well, we're doing the digital stuff. We're doing the music distribution, the marketing, and all this other, digital takeovers. And businesses should take this opportunity to diversify and double down on that stuff. If you are a bar or a music venue and you're not figuring out a way to monetize live shows, maybe, that's a way you should start thinking about it. Because now when you come out of COVID, are you in an area where you can turn your 100 cap venue into a 10,000 cap venue by having 200 people having VIP tickets to be able to actually see this concert live, and then 9,800 people paying $1 to view it online? And now you've boosted your revenue. And so if anything, the music industry and the music businesses should be doubling down right now. They should be getting creative. And they should really be seeing it out, because when we do come out of this, people are going to be dying to go to concerts.
I agree. I think that that's the move right now. If you have an open air venue, you need to be taking advantage of just spreading people out, charging more. Like, take advantage of the wealthy kids that can go to the shows and don't care about coronavirus because they're rich. Like, okay, here's your $500 ticket. Go for it. And then everyone else will pay $1 to watch it online, stream. That's all good. No big deal. But yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think your comment on transformation is so on point, because it's like, regardless if it's your business that you say that you kind of had to make a slight pivot towards, or the venues that are getting completely hammered, or even the record companies which have to make adjustments. It's all about transformation and really setting those processes into place, because this probably isn't going to be the last time this shit happens, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a second wave or there's like a new thing that kind of comes out, it wouldn't really surprise me that, the risk manager is going to be so important to a lot of startups, I feel like, because they're going to have to start to take a inventory of like, okay, where are the real volatilities in our business model? And, if a pandemic happens, like, it does our business make sense? I mean, I always take a look at, like Airbnb, right? Like they were, what was it? They're probably like the iconic unicorn for like last couple of years. That everybody's like waiting for them to go, an IPO, and all of a sudden coronavirus happens, and maybe their value dropped a little bit just because people don't really want to travel that much anymore.
Yeah.
Granted, the CEO did say that travel is really bouncing back, and they're switching what they can do with their Airbnb hosts and houses and stuff. But I think your point is really, really well made here. Because we're kind of getting close on time, we have a couple of really good audience questions that I just want to bring up here. I'm going to try and put them on the screen. It's the first time I've ever tried this, so let's see how it works. So Rich Smith
Fancy.
says here that what sets you apart from companies like TuneCore, United Masters, and DistroKid?
Yeah, so we actually get that question a lot. The big thing for us is in comparison of the way the businesses are structured. So you look at independent distribution companies. They are structured around distribution and really distribution only. They do have other branch services. Where we come in is we are not structured as a distribution company. We're structured as a marketplace. So we want to look at the whole distribution cycle and provide artists with resources from point A to Z. And so distribution for us is just a add-on service. And that enables us to charge a much cheaper rates. I think we're about 6 times cheaper, or around there, 5 to 6 times cheaper than most of the independent distributors. We don't have hidden contracts. We don't have hidden fees because we don't make our revenue off of just distribution alone. And so that's one of the big differences with us is the revenue model is structured different. The other big thing is the way that the structure of the user is actually done. So that's when our customer service cycles come in that enable us to have a much more hands-on experience with the user, and also comes into, like I said, with that full cycle where you're not just distributing your music through us, but you're creating your music through us, you're distributing your music through us, you're marketing your music through us, and then you're also touring through us. You're using social media through us, and you get this whole life cycle that no one else is really offering.
It makes sense. So when I was looking at your website, you have a comparison, like a 3-layer comparison that kind of shows what the benefit really is of how much more you guys have to offer. So I think that's great. And I think we have another question too that was really good that came in. Clay, can you put that up too?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the comments here. I don't know why they just disappeared.
Did they disappear? Well, I'll say it if we can't show it. It's from this guy, Evan. The question is, can you go into a little bit of detail on how investors have helped shape the way you run Artist Republik?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
That's a good one, yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, you got to have a synergy with your investors. Investors, I wouldn't say have changed our direction. They've more heightened our direction. So I think one of the big things for us is investor capital enables you to focus on the user and the product and not the dollar amount. And that was a big thing for us is, we now know that, okay, we have this much runway to last this long, and we can just focus on putting out the best product physically possible without having to focus on how much money we're making. And yes, you obviously have to focus on how much money you're making, but it's almost becomes a byproduct. And that's big. For a startup, you really want to focus on providing the best service, the best product ever. And, that's given us the ability to stuff that you normally wouldn't do, to be able to greenlight that. We've put a lot of emphasis on our infrastructure and our, team and the marketing. And if you're bootstrapping, you're focusing on revenue, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to focus on, getting revenue sources out and, getting that one user to turn as much money as possible. Where when you have that investor money, you're able to say, okay, I'm going to focus on building the best and most stable product possible and build my KPIs and build my, proof of concept and keep growing through investor money. So then we get to that point down the line where we say, okay, we've built the best product possible. Let's flip it and let's start generating revenue.
Yeah, makes sense. Very good.
Yeah, so I think we're coming up close to time, but Nick, I mean, this has been such an informative conversation. Would really love to just get your, kind of last final thoughts, any kind of like predictions that you have for, businesses and startups, looking forward, anything that, you just want to add here.
My final thoughts is it's going to be a fun couple years in the music industry. I know we're on a lot of people's radars. I know a lot of people are keeping, tabs on us. And it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of good competition. And at the end of the day, no matter how many, competitive service brawls, there are out there between us and other companies, at the end of the day, we're all going for the same goal, which is helping the independent artists. And I think that's kind of the coolest part about is, whether we are the best distributor in the world or whether we're not, even if we're number 3, guess what? We're still all working together to be the best independent distributors. If there's 4 independent distributors and we're number 5, guess what? There's still 5 awesome resources for music artists to distribute their music without signing a record deal. And I think that's kind of my big prediction is the independent music industry is going to continue to grow. And all I can do is hope that Artist Republic is really going to be a leading charge for that. And yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a ride for the next couple of years.
Doesn't surprise me.
That's true.
Really does not surprise me because I heard Jason Derulo is going to be coming off of his record label contract.
Yeah.
And people are saying that he's going to be the most powerful independent artist in the game.
Listen, all I can say is, on average, the average record deal takes anywhere from about 80 to 90%. Yet, 20 years ago, it cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to manufacture, produce, print, ship CDs, records, advertising, billboards, all that stuff. Guess what? It costs $1 for a UPC code to get your song on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. It costs, you can get your song on a playlist for as cheap as $1 if it's good. You can get your song featured on a billboard through companies like Blip that use digital billboards as cheap as, I think it's like 20 or 30 bucks. You can advertise on Instagram and get hundreds of clicks for $5, $10. No, you're not building a huge marketing campaign, but there's no reason to sign away 80 to 90% of your revenue for a company that is not paying the expenses that they used to pay. So it's time for that industry to flip and really, enable it to go back into the artist, because it's not as costly to distribute music nowadays as it used to be.
I think the value proposition has always been in the expertise, right?
Yeah.
Of working with a label, an A&R, a marketing manager, all this stuff. But that's why your company has been so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because everything that a label kind of offered, you guys have all in one simple and easy to use platform.
And that's kind of a big
vetted out vendors, like you were saying.
Yeah. And that's a big thing for us. One of our biggest things is customer service. And our customer service team is not a customer service team. We are artist success managers. And that's a big thing for us is we work with the artist. So, we can have a very qualified artist success manager. Instead of a label, you would have one person to one person. But with us, you can have an artist success manager manage 20,000 people on our platform because how many service requests are actually coming through per day. And that enables a user to actually get the same level that they would at a record label without having, to sign lengthy contracts.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the benefits there, absolutely, to any independent artist. At the end of the day, and I've come from labels and all that stuff. There's honestly no benefit anymore. Yeah, even the teams they're just not excited about where they're at anymore. They're not excited about the artists they're working with. It's depressing, to be completely honest, and that's why I left and started doing what I do. It doesn't make sense anymore to sign away your life just in the opportunity of gaining some exclusive connections here and there. It's no, hire this person, hire that person, hire this company instead. Keep everything. Find the right resources on the internet that'll support you, that are the right types of people that have the passion, and go from there. Seed your own journey. It doesn't make sense any other way anymore. But so happy we had you on here. I feel like you've given us so many great things. I know so many people got so much out of it from the venture capital side, from the just being an artist side. And we're obviously going to have this uploaded to our YouTube channel as well for anyone who is just catching it now or catching it later. But yeah, it's been super awesome to have you on here. Why don't you give us a final, rundown of all the handles and everything? Where can people find you? Who do you want to shout out? If you want to shout out anything else, go for it.
Yeah. So, I would say you can find us. Obviously, everything is at Artist Republik with a K. ArtistRepublik.com is where you'll find the awesome decentralized system of awesomeness. And if you want to message me, you can find me on Instagram at Chalker Beach Boy, which is great family background, like to stay in the roots. And if I'm trying to think of anything else, obviously shout outs to anybody that's been on our team. I cannot, thank our team enough. Probably have one of, I probably say, everyone probably says this a lot, but probably one of the best teams I've, ever worked with in my life. Love every single one of them, the developers, the marketers, the investors, every single person. And yeah, so feel free. Anyone can message me. You can message Artist Republik. Check us out. I'm always here. If anybody had any questions that they, didn't get answered, feel free to message me. And yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, thank you again for being on here. We're very happy, very stoked, and the future is bright for the independent space. We know it. We just got to get past this damn hump, and we'll get there. It'll change everything for us for the better, hopefully. So, thanks for being a part of the pioneering of that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Awesome. All right, Clay. So good.
Gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah, really a lot.
That one definitely gave me a ton to kind of.
Oh no, I think I lost you. Maybe he'll come back. If you're still listening, you guys, thank you guys so much. Oh, Clay's back, maybe. I think we lost you for a second, Clay.
I think it's because I'm deep in LBI in New Jersey, and the Wi-Fi out here is not as great as it is actually at home. But
did you get your surf on?
Yeah, we got our surf on.
Boy.
It was great. It's been beautiful out here. But I hope anybody that really got to listen to Nick really took away the fact that you don't need to chase investors.
Yeah.
Like he found his by really putting the right content out there, putting the right business, just doing all the right things. You didn't need to go and chase for it. And I think that lesson can be really translated to our.
We'll give it a second. Maybe not. Yes. Okay. Well, anyways, yeah. Definitely translates to our industry. Definitely true. If you don't already have a pitch deck and you're trying to prepare something together, definitely put that together. Look on the internet. There's a great book called Get Backed by the investors at Shark Tank, which I actually own, and it is a great resource for knowing how to design one that's really, really, action packed and, drives the right type of engagement whenever you're preparing and presenting to anyone. And yeah, look around at who you have in your industry, in your community, and try to start developing what you want to do to get yourself funded. There's so many ways. You just have to go after it. You can't have the fear or the anxiety or the insecurity that people are going to judge you for trying to get back. You just have to say, fuck it and do it, and find people who are just as excited about what you're excited about. In order for you to be successful. That's how you're going to find the right team at the end of the day anyways, and you wouldn't want to have an investor that wasn't as stoked about it as you. So I think we've gotten a lot of great insights from that today as a reassurance for those topics. And yeah, you guys can find us obviously here every week on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern for another live panel. We obviously talk about entertainment industry, post-COVID-19, during COVID-19, and all in between. Find us on our Instagram at Let's Fast Forward. You can see it at the bottom right there. And we'll be uploading all of these to YouTube. So definitely check them out. Thank you guys so much for listening every time. It means so much to us. If you want to see a different topic, please hit us up, email us. I always forget what the email is, but you can email me, Natasha at austerevisuals.com. Clay, I think it's Clayton Durant at cadmanagement.com. I probably not. I don't know. But thank you guys so much. I'm going to hop off. Maybe this will turn off when I do. So thank you guys. Take care and stay safe.